Hi, this is Jim Beers. I was asked a question recently about forest management in the West and these large catastrophic fires that each year for the last 10 or 15 years have gotten bigger and hotter and more destructive of private property and homes and grazing lands and timber. And I mean, it's just incredible what's going on. Well, it's almost a comedy to me, but as a wildlife biologist and former fish and wildlife person who has seen the last 30 years as very chaotic and destructive federal policies doing a lot of things, I would like to make the observation that I've just heard a lecture to a bunch of governors in there. The chief of the Forest Service was here, and the lady from Nature Conservancy was here. And the talk kind of went like this. You know, the Forest Service used to spend only 16% of their budget on forest fires, and now it's over 60%. And it's just awful. And a lot of state lands are being burned up and a lot of private property is being burned up. And the answer to this is cooperation and collaboration between state and federal and private forest owners about new ways to manage the land. There are no boundaries for the forest, and we must manage the forest. It's almost pagan, but you know, the forest is this sort of great entity. And the truth of the matter is this. The Forest Service for the last 25 to 30 years, since the early Clinton time when I had spoken earlier about the way they stole money to put wolves in. Since those years, they've closed roads, they've stopped timber sales, and they're building up a lot of tinder or fire fuel in the forest, and the trees are pretty big, and there's not any breaks anymore because you don't have roads through there that the loggers used to put through, and fighting fires is often encumbered by endangered species requirements here. So you wind up with more massive fires, hotter fires that actually burn into the ground more because there's more fuel on top they're burning for a longer period. And the answer is exactly what we did for the first 75 years, the last century, which was carefully and sustainably cut timber for profit in a way that's beneficial to wildlife and human activities. And we grazed the land as it came back in and whatever as we could to keep down that forage somewhat, again, get profit to help manage all of those lands for human activity. Anymore, the lands have become sacred and equal to or greater in value than human activity and human life. And like wolves and grizzly bears, that kind of policy-driven activity by the government in settled landscapes is crazy. It really is crazy. And what is their answer? That they should have more land under their control, they need more money to do maintenance, and they need more authority to control the private property. That's not the problem. In fact, what they recommend for the solution is just more of the same that caused the problem. So that's all being driven that way. And it's so ironic when you look at it and you listen to the lies they put out, whether about wolves and grizzly bears or about forest fires, and how it all revolves back. In my home state of Minnesota, they stopped a few years ago a moose hunt that you could only get one permit in a lifetime for, and everybody wanted to hunt moose. They don't have enough moose anymore. And the DNR, our people, came out and said, well, that's because of climate change, which is nonsense. And then they said, and it also is because of unspecified diseases, and the answer is that we need more money for research, that our people can go out there and research. When any idiot could look at the last 20 years, the number of wolves because of protection has gone like this, and the number of moose has gone like this. It could very well be just because of the calves they kill. Once they get effective at killing the calves and the cows, pretty soon it's like Italy, it's like Russia. You don't have any more big Russians or little Italians because they didn't have any babies. So I mean, it's the same kind of thing with this forest fire stuff. It's just more of the same by more of the same people in charge. And the bureaucracy has been tilted that way. The universities no longer teach forest management or wildlife management. It's all just save them and climate change, and it's almost like the Christian churches have been turned back into pagan temples where we'll all go and worship a statue we'll all go out like a bunch of druids and look up at the mistletoe and the oak tree in the winter and say, oh, that's what we're going to honor right now. So anyhow, that's Jim Beers, and I'm glad to talk about that. Thank you.